Rainbow Loomers, it's Michelle from Rainbow Loom, and today we'll be learning how to make a mini mural using the Flex Loom. More specifically, we will be making this cherry mural that's also in the instructions of the Flex Loom kit. We'd recommend watching this tutorial while following along in the instruction guide. You can also use this technique to make other mini murals. First, let's go over what you'll need. I have my Flex Loom Mega Combo Kit here, and I will be using the red, yellow, white, clear, and green bands. You will also need a Flex Loom or original Rainbow Loom and a hook to loom the bands. Additionally, you will also need a design to use, and we'd recommend rotating it like this and labeling the rows and columns so that you can follow along. Make sure that your designs are 13 pixels wide or less. And again, please follow along using your instruction guide. As for the band count, if all of my math is correct, you will need 238 of the background color, which for this mural is yellow, 104 cherry-colored bands, which I used red for, 66 stem-colored bands, which I used green for, 8 white bands for the shine of the cherries, and for the inner tie bands that hold our creation together, I used 56 clear bands. In total, that is 472 bands. We use double bands to represent each pixel on the diagram, so that definitely increases the band count more than your average creation. Next, let's set up our Flex Loom so that we can start making our mini mural. To do this, we just have to remove the middle row of pegs on your Flex Loom to get it in the mural position. You can either use your thumbs to push out the middle row of pegs from the back, or you can push up using your fingers from the front. Then we have to make sure that our pegs are facing the correct direction. The peg should be making a lowercase n shape, so I have to turn my loom around. Make sure that your loom matches mine before moving on. Now let's get started making our mini mural. We will use our pixel diagram to help us. Each row corresponds to a specific peg on our loom. So row 1 means peg 1, and row 13 means peg 13. We will work on this column by column, starting with column 1 at the bottom of our mini mural, and making our way to the top, which is column 15. But when we make a mini mural, we actually start by creating parts of the beginning and end of the mini mural. What do I mean by this? We will first be laying down the rubber bands that make up the horizontal bands going across our mini mural. These are located at the bottom and top of our mini mural. Then, we'll place and loom all of the vertical bands column by column. The chain that goes on the left side of our loom will be for the top of our mural. Let's work on that first. I'm going to match this with the background color for my mural, which in the diagram is purple, but today I'm using yellow. So drop a single band in your background color on peg 13, which is at the top of your loom. This will be for the slip knot that we'll do at the very end. Then take another single band in your background color and place it across peg 13 and peg 12. Then peg 12 and peg 11. And continue to place bands in a single chain going down the left side of the Flex Loom. I'm at the bottom now, and your loom should have 13 bands on it, including the first band that we dropped. Then, take the back of your hook and push down all of these bands. Now that that's out of the way, from now on, you're going to ignore the single chain of bands on the left side until we're at the very end of our mural. Next, we're going to do something similar on the right side. Just place single bands in a single chain again from peg 13 to peg 1, again using your background color. Again, I'm using the back of my hook and pushing down on the bands to make room for more. Now, on peg 1 at the very bottom of your loom on the right side only, we will be placing on a triple looped cap band so that we can loom this first row of bands. Take a single band in your background color, place it on the back of your hook, and wrap the band around twice so that there are 3 loops on your hook. Next, you're going to slide this triple looped cap band on peg 1 on the right side. Just insert the back of your hook into the peg and use your other hand to slide the cap band down. This is what it should look like from the side. Now we're going to loom the single chain on the right side. Slide the tip of your hook into peg 1, then pull back on the cap band. Grab the bottom single band, bring it up, and then forward to peg 2. Then reach into peg 2, grab the bottommost band, and bring that forward. Continue doing this until you get to the end of your loom. And again, push down the bands to make room for more. This is what your loom should look like now. Make sure that yours matches mine before moving on. Now, we're going to start laying down double bands based on our diagram. Look at your diagram starting with column 1, and we will be placing down double bands that correspond with each pixel in this column. For me, column 1, row 1 is my background color, which is yellow. So take double bands, which is just what we call 2 rubber bands, and place them across the first pair of pegs. Then, continue matching the pixels in column 1 with the pegs on your loom using double bands. So column 1, row 2 is again my background color. Take double bands and place them across peg 2 on your loom. Column 1, row 3 is also my background color, so I'm placing double bands across peg 3 on my loom. Column 1, row 4 is again my background color, so I'm taking double bands and placing them across peg 4. And continue doing this for the rest of this column. I just finished placing down all 13 sets of double bands that correspond with my diagram. And actually, the first column for me is just my background color, so it's all yellow. Next, we're going to do something that we'll only do for the first column. We will move the single chain that we loomed on the right side over to the middle between the pegs. This will be the very bottom of our mural. Turn your loom to the side, and we will grab the bottom 2 loops on the pegs that make up the single chain and move them to the middle of our loom. So that was the second peg, and for the first peg, you're actually going to grab the 3 loops of the cap band. Make sure that you have just the 3 loops from the cap band and that you're not grabbing the horizontal double bands that we placed. Then carefully move it over to the middle. Then, just continue grabbing the single chain below the horizontal double bands and moving them to the middle. And this is the last one. This is what your loom should look like now. We have this single chain on the left side that we're ignoring until the end. On top, we have the horizontal double bands that connect over to the right side. and in the middle, we have the single chain that we already loomed. Now let's work on column 2, and this starts the repetitive section that we will do for every column until the end. First, push down the bands to make room for more. Then, we're going to place on our tie bands. These are overlapping bands that go across multiple pegs. They hold our creation together, and for this design, we will place them across every 4 pegs. I'm taking a single tie band, which I'm using clear for, and on the left side only, I'm placing it from peg 13 to peg 10. Then take another tie band and place it from peg 10 to peg 7. Then peg 7 to peg 4. And lastly, from peg 4 to peg 1. Notice how the tie bands overlap on pegs 10, 7, and 4. But wait, if you are making your own mural, try to place the tie bands around every 4 pegs, making sure that the tie bands overlap. They can also overlap over several pegs. For example, if I was making a mural with a width of 6, then you could place the tie bands from peg 6 to peg 3, and the second one around pegs 4 to peg 1. You can see that the tie bands overlap on 2 pegs, pegs 3 and 4. Push the clear bands down, and then we're going to add the horizontal double bands for column 2. Starting with row 1 in column 2, it looks like we have a background colored band here, so take 2 of those and place them across peg 1. Then, look at the next row in column 2, and we have another background colored band. Place 2 of those across the second set of pegs on your loom. For row 3 in column 2, we have our cherry color, so I'm taking 2 of those and placing it across peg 3. And just continue placing the horizontal double bands down according to the diagram for column 2. I finished placing down my 13th set of double bands, and before we start looming, we're going to do a quick sanity check to make sure that we've placed down all of the rubber bands. Turn your loom to the right side, and each peg should have 4 bands on it. You can also quickly check to make sure that you've placed on the correct colors. If everything looks good, then we can start looming. Turn your loom to the left side, and first, we will loom the clear tie bands, starting from the bottom of our loom. Use your hook to grab the left side of the clear tie band from pegs 4 to 1, and flip it over to the middle of your loom. The clear tie band should be sitting in the middle now. Then do the same with the next tie band, so I'm using my hook to grab the left side of the clear tie band that stretches from pegs 4 to 7, and I'm flipping that over to the middle. Move up, and do the same thing to the next clear tie band. And do that one more time for the last clear tie band. All of your tie bands should be in the middle now. Next, we're going to loom the horizontal double bands. We will loom them on both sides of your loom, but we're going to start off on the right side first because it's a little easier. So turn your loom to the side, and on every single peg, we're going to flip over the bottom 2 horizontal bands. You can also grab these one at a time if it's easier, but just make sure that you're looming the bottom 2 bands. Just flip it over to the middle and let go. Move to the next peg, grab the bottom 2 horizontal bands, and flip it over into the middle. Then go to the next peg and do the same thing. And continue doing this for all of the horizontal double bands on the right side. By the way, if the top 2 bands and bottom 2 bands get a little tangled together, then you can move your hook around the peg to kind of reset their positions. I've just completed the right side, and each peg here should have 2 bands on it. Next, we're going to do the same thing to the left side, but remember that we are ignoring the single chain on the left side. So you will be flipping over the 3rd and 4th bands from the top of the peg. Make sure that these bands aren't tangled up either. So grab the 3rd and 4th bands from the top and flip them over to the center. Move to the next peg, grab the 3rd and 4th bands from the top, and flip them over again. And continue doing this for all of the horizontal double bands on the left side. I just finished looming the last one, and your left side should now have the top set of horizontal double bands and the single chain that we're ignoring at the bottom. If so, then congrats, you just finished column 2. We will continue doing this same process until you finish your mural. I'd also recommend keeping track of the columns that you've completed so that you don't repeat or skip a column. Now let's do this all over again for column 3. Do you remember what our first step is? First, we will lay down the rubber bands, starting with our tie bands. The tie bands go around every 4 pegs and they overlap, so this first one goes from peg 13 to peg 10, then peg 10 to peg 7, peg 7 to peg 4, and peg 4 to peg 1. Then, we lay down the double bands according to our diagram. I'm starting with column 3, row 1, which is my background color. So I'm placing 2 bands across the first set of pegs. Then, move to column 3, row 2, which is my cherry color, and I'm placing those double bands across peg 2. And just continue doing this for the width of your mural. When you're done, check to make sure that you've laid down all of the rubber bands and that you've placed on the correct colors. Turn your loom to the side and make sure that each peg has 4 bands. Next, we're going to loom these bands, starting with the tie bands. At the bottom of your loom, flip this first clear tie band that goes from pegs 4 to peg 1 over to the middle. Then move up to the next tie band and flip it into the middle. And do this for the other tie bands. I now have 4 tie bands in the middle, and now we're going to loom the horizontal double bands on all of the pegs. I'm starting with the right side, grabbing the bottom 2 bands on the pegs, and flipping them over to the middle. Move to the next peg and do the same thing. Just make sure that you're always grabbing the bottom set of horizontal double bands. I just completed the right side, and now do a quick sanity check to make sure that you've loomed all of the horizontal double bands. There should be 2 bands on the pegs here. Then I'm going to do the same thing to the left side. Just grab the 3rd and 4th bands from the top and flip them into the middle. Again, do another sanity check to make sure that you've loomed all of the horizontal double bands. And congrats, that completes column 3. Next, we will work on column 4, but this time I'll go a little bit faster. Quiz time. What's our first step? If you answered laying down the tie bands, then you're correct. I'm placing the tie bands on the left side across every 4 pegs. So from peg 13 to peg 10, peg 10 to peg 7, peg 7 to peg 4, and peg 4 to peg 1. Second question, what's our next step? We're going to lay down the horizontal double bands according to our diagram. Start from column 4, row 1, and place down those double bands. Then continue on with column 4, row 2, and so on. At the end, do a quick sanity check to make sure that you didn't miss any double bands. Do you remember what our next step is? Now we're going to loom the bands, starting with the tie bands. Start with the tie band at the bottom of your loom and bring it over to the middle. Then move up and bring the other tie bands over to the middle. Next, we will loom the bottom set of horizontal double bands. Use your hook to grab the bottom 2 horizontal bands, making sure that they aren't tangled with the top 2, and flip them over to the middle. Do this for all of the pegs with horizontal double bands on the right and left. For the left side, remember that you're looming the 3rd and 4th bands from the top. When you're done, do a sanity check to make sure that you've loomed all of the bands. And congrats, that completes column 4. I'll let you try the other columns on your own. Remember, the steps are to first place down your tie bands across every 4 pegs. Then, place on the horizontal double bands according to the column on your diagram that you're working on. Next, you'll loom the tie bands over to the middle. And then, you'll loom the bottom set of horizontal double bands. If needed, check the chapters and rewind if you want to see this all in action again. After finishing my last column, I'll meet you back here so that we can learn how to end our creation. I have just finished my last column, which is column 15. If you are also done with your last column, then push down your bands to make room for what we're about to do. Now we're going to stop ignoring the single chain on the left side, and we're going to loom it to close off the top of our mini mural. But first, we have to move the double bands on the right side over to the left. You want to go slow and carefully here because we don't want to accidentally drop any bands. Then use your hook to grab the double bands on the right side. Pull so that there's some tension and move these over to the peg on the left. Make sure both rubber bands are around the peg before dropping them. Continue doing this for all of the double bands on the right side. Grab them, pull so that there's tension, and move them to the peg on the left. Again, grab the double bands on the right and move them to the peg on the left. Now all of the rubber bands should be on the left side of your loom. Next, we're going to loom the single chain that we've been ignoring, starting at peg 1, which is at the bottom of our loom. There are a lot of bands here, so we want to go slow and careful. Slide your hook into the first peg and pull back on the top 4 bands. Grab the single band at the bottom of the peg, bring it up, and forward. Then move to the next peg, so peg 2, slide your hook into it, pull back on all the other bands, then grab the single band at the bottom, carefully bring it up, and forward. And again, slide your hook into the peg, grab the bottom band, and bring it forward. Then just continue looming the bottom band on each peg. For the last single band that's just sitting on the last peg, we will use this to make a slip knot. I'm sticking this onto my finger and looming this band just like how we did to the others. Put the loop on your finger onto the hook. Then, slide the loop closest to the tip of your hook through the other loop. Pull to tighten. You might have to tighten this again after we remove the mirror from the loom. Also, if you want to make this a little bit more secure, especially if you're just hiding the slip knot into the mirror, then you can actually add on another slip knot. So I'm pulling another band through the loop on my hook, and then making another slip knot. Using my hook, I'm carefully taking my mini mural off the loom now. Massage the mini mural a little bit so that the bands sit more evenly. Then you can hide the slip knot by sliding your hook into your mural. Grabbing the slip knot loop, pulling your hook back, and massaging your creation again to hide the slip knot. And now your mini mural is complete. Thank you so much for watching this tutorial. If you make this, please tag us at official_rainbowloom and use the hashtag rainbowloom so that we can see your creations on Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. We also host weekly giveaways on our Instagram called our Loom Star of the Week contest, where you can win some fun prizes, so be sure to follow us there. In the description box below, you can find where to purchase your own Rainbow Loom products. Our new Flex Loom is now available for purchase if you're interested, and it's available on the Rainbow Loom web store and some independent retailers, so check out your local craft and toy stores. Again, thanks for watching this tutorial, and I'll see you in the next one.